us go to work day in and day out, anxiously awaiting for the weekend. We have a little fun, we relax a bit, and then we do it all over again. We take no thought about influencing the world around us. We interact with coworkers, neighbors, family, and friends without considering how we might impact their lives. This should not be our mindset. We live in a world that needs God's love and grace. Jesus came to earth for the express purpose of influencing us for eternity by drawing us into a relationship with Himself. Now it's our turn. It's your job and my job as followers of Christ to influence our world. We're not all going to be famous communicators or philanthropists that change the course of history in big monumental ways, but each of us can touch the lives of those around us on a daily basis. Over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about some of the different ways we can do that. This week, we're going to talk about how we can influence our world by caring for each other. That's right. The world is impacted by the way we, as followers of Christ, take care of one another. At a point very close to the end of His life, Jesus said, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." God made it clear. We start at home with those closest to us. The world will take notice. I remember years ago a very specific church service when I was in seminary. The guy teaching had an offering taken. Nothing unusual about that. We expect them to ask for money. Then he did something I had never seen before or since. He said we were going to pass the plates again with the offering still in them. He told us if we needed money at that time, to take whatever we needed. If we didn't feel comfortable doing that, we were supposed to write down what we needed and drop it in the offering plate. Now, I saw a handful of people taking a few dollars here and there, but a number of people dropped little pieces of paper in the plates. When they finished, the speaker started to pull out those slips of paper and read those needs off. I remember a couple of them. One girl had tires so bald she was afraid to drive her car. She was asked what kind of car she had. A man stood up and said he had 4 decent tires that he was pretty sure would fit, and he'd put them on for her. A seminary student was unable to drive home for Christmas because his car just wasn't running. There was a mechanic there. He stood up and he said, "I'll work on the car for you." This went on for a while as people met each other's needs. I remember crying and thinking, this is how the church is supposed to function. That is how the early church functioned. And the world really did take notice. You're going to read part of their story together in the book of Acts. But first, I want you to hear a story about how a small group met a family's needs.
My name is Amanda Walker, and in 2012, my husband Joey and I joined a small group here at Grace. It was one of the darkest times in our life as we were struggling with the grief over the loss of our son, who was stillborn in my final weeks of pregnancy. It was amazing the amount of love and support that we received from our fellow small group members. I will never forget all the things they said and they did and how much love they showered on us. We found ourselves in a unique situation about a year later with my daughter, who was unborn and diagnosed with a congenital heart defect. I was put on bed rest for many months, and with the uncertainty as to whether or not she would make it. Again, I counted on my small group. They rallied around me full of love, support, prayers. They spent just quiet time with me, tons of food, you name it, they were there. I never once had a doubt that they weren't present with me throughout the entire pregnancy. Several months later, an army of prayers and a slight birth defect, my daughter was born, and again, my small group, through another entire year of scary doctor's appointments and a major heart surgery, they were always there. My daughter, who is 2 now, just started preschool, and her first day, like her mother, was very traumatic and full of lots of tears, and it was just probably one of the more sorrowful days I've had in a long time. And as I took her in to meet her teacher, and as I gave her to the teacher as she was clinging and screaming, you know, "Don't leave me, Mommy," I was about to have a nervous breakdown when I got to the car, and I looked down at my phone, and I not only had 1, 2, 3, but 4 messages, and they were all from the moms in my small group. And that meant the world to me because they knew, before I even had to say anything, what I was feeling that day. I can't imagine what my experience would have been like without them. And as a result, I find myself looking into my community, seeing where others are hurting and might be in need and need encouragement and not have the kind of support system that I have. And I just want to thank all of my fellow small group members and Grace for giving me an opportunity to reach out into the community and help others who might be in need.
That kind of story is not the exception to the rule. It happens a lot, but it needs to happen even more. See, when we function like this as a family that really takes care of each other, the world around us sees it and wants to be a part of that kind of love. It's what happened in the early church. Acts chapter 2 verse 47 says, "And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved." The message of Jesus' love and sacrifice on the cross is powerful, but it's also shown in the way we love each other. Before you discuss some of this, I want to give you an assignment as a group. By the time you wrap up your get-togethers this fall, I want you to plan and carry out a service project together. This needs to be a hands-on project. Raising money for a good cause or ministry is great, and you might need to raise some funds for what you do, but I want you to actually serve together as a group. What you do is completely up to you. Just figure out a way you want to impact a little corner of the world and go for it. I don't even want to offer suggestions here because I want you to pray and talk about this and come up with an idea that really means something to you. It's going to be exciting to see what happens. Now, have a great discussion tonight.